The first explosion rips through the desert silence before the sun even considers rising. A flash of orange tears open the horizon, and in that violent bloom of light, shadows of U.S. Marines surge forward, rifles up, boots pounding against the cold earth. This is not a rehearsal for cameras or ceremony. This is a Live Fire Company attack in 2026, where every trigger squeeze sends real rounds downrange and every decision carries weight. In the darkness, illuminated only by muzzle flashes and tracer arcs, the modern Marine Corps tests itself against chaos. By day, the battlefield looks almost clinical under the unforgiving glare of the sun. Drones hum overhead, relaying thermal imagery to commanders studying tablets marked with digital overlays and moving icons. By night, that same terrain transforms into a shifting maze of black silhouettes and fractured light, where depth perception disappears and instinct sharpens into something primal. The Marines move through both worlds seamlessly, proving that combat readiness is not bound by time. The tradition behind these attacks stretches back through the blood-soaked beaches of Iwo Jima and the frozen ridgelines of the Chosin Reservoir. The Marine Corps has always defined itself through the violent clarity of offensive action, closing with and destroying the enemy through fire and maneuver. But 2026 brings a different dimension to that legacy, blending historic aggression with cutting-edge technology and joint force integration. What remains unchanged is the raw human element. A company attack is a controlled storm. Nearly 150 to 200 Marines advance as a coordinated organism, rifle squads bounding forward under the protective umbrella of machine guns, mortar, and armored support. Fire teams peel off, suppressing enemy positions, while others maneuver to flank and overwhelm. Every Marine understands the choreography because it has been rehearsed relentlessly, yet live fire conditions introduce a level of unpredictability that cannot be simulated. At dawn, the attack begins with a thunderclap from 81mm mortar, positioned on a rear slope. The rounds arc high before descending in concussive bursts that shake the ground and send dust columns twisting skyward. Platoon commanders watch through magnified optics, waiting for the precise moment to shift fire and commit their assault elements. Timing is everything, and seconds can mean the difference between dominance and disorder. In 2026, the Marines integrate small unmanned aerial systems directly into the assault. Compact drones dart ahead of the leading squads, streaming live video of trench lines and fortified bunkers. The company commander studies this feed in real time, adjusting routes and objectives without halting momentum. Technology enhances awareness, but it does not replace the Marine gripping his rifle at the front. As the first platoon surges, machine gunners lay down a relentless stream of suppressive fire. The distinct rhythm of the M240 cuts through the chaos, each burst measured and deliberate. Tracer rounds streak across the range, marking invisible lines of dominance in the air. The assault element advances in bounds, one team covering while the other sprints, drops, and returns fire. By midday, sweat soaks through camouflage utilities and dust cakes onto faces hardened by focus. The sun beats down mercilessly, amplifying the weight of body armor and ammunition. Yet the tempo does not slow. The Marines rehearse casualty evacuations under fire, dragging simulated wounded to covered positions while maintaining suppressive fire on enemy targets. The live rounds demand a level of discipline that no blank fire exercise can replicate. Safety officers monitor every sector, ensuring fields of fire are respected and coordination remains flawless. A single mistake could have catastrophic consequences. That awareness heightens concentration, forging habits that will endure in real combat. As evening approaches, the atmosphere shifts. The golden light fades into deep indigo, and night vision devices flip down over determined eyes. What was visible minutes ago becomes abstract and distorted. Distances are harder to judge, shapes blend together, and the enemy seems closer than ever. Night live fire attacks test more than marksmanship. They test trust. Marines must rely on their training and on each other, communicating through whispers and hand signals in near total darkness. Infrared lasers trace invisible lines only visible through night optics, guiding fire with ghostly precision. The battlefield feels surreal, suspended between silence and sudden violence. The Marine Corps of 2026 stands at the crossroads of tradition and transformation. Force design initiatives have reshaped units to be lighter, more agile, and more expeditionary. Company attacks now emphasize distributed operations, rapid displacement, and integration with naval assets offshore. Yet at its core, the mission remains brutally simple: seize, hold, and dominate terrain. Instructors circulate quietly after each assault, conducting after-action reviews illuminated by dim red lights. Marines gather in tight circles, listening as leaders dissect every movement and decision. Mistakes are confronted directly, not to assign blame, but to sharpen performance. The culture demands constant improvement. For many young Marines, this is their first experience with sustained live fire at the company level. The sound alone is overwhelming, a concussive symphony that rattles the chest and echoes in the skull. But within that noise, they discover clarity. Fear transforms into focus, and uncertainty gives way to confidence. The history of the Corps is filled with moments where preparation met reality with devastating effectiveness. From the island campaigns of World War II to the urban battles of Fallujah, Marines have relied on aggressive training to survive first contact. Company attacks in 2026 draw lessons from every generation, distilling them into drills refined through decades of hard-earned experience. Each live fire evolution is a bridge between past sacrifice and future necessity. Logistics teams work tirelessly behind the scenes, delivering ammunition, water, and medical support under the same demanding conditions. Without them, the assault would stall. Their presence underscores a fundamental truth: combat effectiveness is a collective achievement. Every Marine, regardless of role, contributes to the outcome. During one nighttime assault, a sudden malfunction halts a machine gun mid-burst. The assistant gunner reacts instantly, clearing the stoppage while the team leader adjusts sectors of fire. There is no panic, only practiced response. Within seconds, the weapon roars back to life, and the advance continues uninterrupted. Helicopter rotors thunder overhead during integrated phases of the exercise, simulating casualty evacuation and rapid insertion. The downdraft kicks up blinding clouds of dust that obscure visibility and challenge communication. Marines crouch low, securing equipment and maintaining perimeter security. Even in simulation, the realism is visceral. Commanders evaluate not just tactical execution, but mental resilience. Fatigue accumulates quickly during continuous day and night operations. Sleep becomes fragmented, meals are rushed, and muscles ache under persistent strain. Yet the expectation remains unwavering: adapt and overcome. As dawn breaks after a grueling night assault, the range is littered with spent casings glinting in the early light. Marines move methodically, clearing weapons and policing brass. The physical evidence of the attack tells a story of coordinated violence harnessed with discipline. It is controlled aggression, shaped by doctrine and driven by purpose. In 2026, global uncertainty underscores the urgency of such training. Emerging threats demand rapid response across multiple theaters, from contested littorals to dense urban environments. The Marine Corps prepares to operate in environments where communications may be disrupted and supply lines strained. Company attacks rehearse adaptability under pressure. Young corporals lead fire teams with a maturity forged in months of preparation. They issue concise commands, adjust formations, and ensure accountability for every Marine. Leadership at the small unit level defines success or failure. In live fire conditions, hesitation is replaced by decisive action. The psychological component of these exercises cannot be overstated. Live rounds create stress that mirrors combat more closely than any simulation. Heart rates spike, peripheral vision narrows, and auditory exclusion sets in. Through repetition, Marines learn to function effectively within that physiological storm. Veterans observing the exercise recognize familiar patterns. The fundamentals remain timeless: suppress, maneuver, assault. What has changed is the integration of data, the speed of information flow, and the precision of modern weaponry. Still, the decisive factor remains the Marine willing to advance toward danger. As the final coordinated attack unfolds, artillery simulators boom in synchronized cadence with ground maneuver. The company advances across open terrain, bounding in disciplined intervals. Fire superiority is achieved through relentless pressure. When the objective is finally seized, a tense silence settles over the range. There is no celebration, only measured assessment. Marines secure the objective, establish defensive positions, and prepare for potential counterattack. The mindset is continuous readiness. Victory is not a moment, but a sustained condition. When the exercise concludes, faces are streaked with sweat and grime, eyes tired but resolute. Weapons are cleaned meticulously, each component inspected with care. Conversations are quieter now, reflective. Bonds forged under live-fire conditions carry a weight that words rarely capture. In these day and night company attacks, the Marine Corps proves that readiness is not theoretical. It is built through repetition under stress, through disciplined aggression guided by experienced leadership. The sounds of gunfire may fade when the range goes cold, but the lessons endure. In 2026, the United States Marines continue to refine the art of controlled violence so that, if called upon, they can bring overwhelming force to bear without hesitation. And as the final echoes disappear into the horizon, one truth remains unshakable. When the moment comes, these Marines will not rise to the occasion. They will fall back on the fire they have already mastered.